Coney Dogs. Born in Detroit and Flint, Michigan, when Greek and Macedonian immigrants arrived in the early 1900s and adapted their homeland's flavors to American hot dog culture, the Coney sauce was the defining element. Ground beef cooked down with Greek spices like cinnamon, allspice, and cumin, thickened with tomato until it was a meaty topping, not a soup. The hot dog had to be all beef with a natural casing for snap. The bun had to be steam soft, never toasted, so it absorbed the chili without falling apart. An authentic Coney is always served all the way. Chili, a stripe of yellow mustard, and finely chopped raw white onions. No ketchup. Ever. The mustard cut through the richness, the onions added crunch, and the cinnamon in the chili confused everyone who expected standard American chili. That confusion was the whole point. This was Greek-American food wearing a hot dog suit, and it was better for it. Steak burgers. Drive-ins in the 1950s needed to separate themselves from McDonald's thin frozen patties, and the answer was simple. Fresh beef, thick patties, screaming hot griddle. The Midwest chains built their reputations on it. The patty was 80-20 ground chuck, never frozen, hand-formed daily, with a thumb depression in the center so it cooked flat. It hit a flat top so hot the beef seared immediately, building a dark brown crust in the first 30 seconds. A hard press with a metal spatula in that window maximized the caramelized surface. More crust, more flavor. Flipped once. American cheese melted over the top if you ordered it. Bun buttered and toasted on the same griddle. The result was a burger with crispy, almost burnt edges, giving way to a pink, juicy center. The beef flavor pure and uncluttered. This was the counter-argument to fast food before anyone was calling it that. Onion rings. Drive-in onion rings were never trying to be delicate. Thick-cut yellow onions, battered in a mixture of flour, cornmeal, and buttermilk, sometimes beer for extra crispiness, until the coating built up substantial and heavy around each ring. Into 350-degree oil until deep golden brown. The coating was thick enough to shatter when you bit it, the onion inside steaming sweet and tender inside its fried shell. Each ring was enormous, often bigger than the burger it came with, served piled in red plastic baskets still glistening. They had to be eaten immediately. Cold onion rings turned gummy and sad within minutes. The cornmeal in the batter added crunch and grit. The onion's sweetness and the batter's salt were all they needed. Some people ordered ranch or honey mustard, but the purists were right. There was nothing to improve on when the ratio of crunchy coating to soft, sweet onion was exactly right. Frosted mugs of root beer. The frosted mug was a commitment. The mugs lived in a dedicated freezer, pulled only when you ordered, rushed to your car window before the frost had a chance to retreat. Heavy glass, thick walls, coated in a white, icy layer that made them slippery and freezing to hold. The cold root beer hit the frozen mug and the temperature dropped further, the carbonation sharpening, the sassafras and vanilla flavor coming through clean and crisp with every sip. Paper cups didn't do this. Plastic cups couldn't do this. The ritual communicated something, that the drive-in cared enough to maintain a separate freezer just for your drink, to have a car hop sprint it to your window while it was still perfect. The visible frost was proof of the effort. Some people kept the mugs. Drive-ins eventually started selling logo versions because customers wanted to take the experience home, which said everything about what the experience meant. Milkshakes. Drive-in milkshakes were thick enough to hold a spoon upright and required real effort through a straw, which was considered a feature rather than a flaw. Hard ice cream, not soft serve. 3 scoops to half a cup of whole milk, blended for exactly 30 seconds on those vintage multi-spindle machines, the metal cups spinning until combined but not melted. Vanilla used real extract. Chocolate used Hershey's syrup. Strawberry used frozen berries or strawberry syrup, artificial and beloved anyway. The shake poured slow and thick into a tall glass, the overflow going into the metal mixing cup served alongside so nothing was wasted. Add malt powder and you got a malted, nuttier, more complex, a different drink entirely. The best shakes delivered immediate ice cream headaches if you pushed through the straw too fast, which everyone did at least once. A dessert pretending to be a beverage, and nobody was fooled, and nobody cared.
Poutine. Poutine crossed from Quebec into Northern American drive-ins in the 1990s, though Canadians had known since the 1950s what it was capable of. 3 components, each non-negotiable. Fresh-cut fries, thick enough to survive the gravy without complete collapse. Fried twice, low heat first to cook through, high heat second to crisp. Fresh cheese curds, not shredded, not mozzarella, but the real thing, made that day or the day before, still white and squeaky. Brown beef gravy, thick and dark and piping hot, hot enough to partially melt the curds without dissolving them entirely. The assembly was fast and ate immediately. The gravy pooled at the bottom fries going soft and almost mashed, the top fries holding some crispness, the curds stringing when pulled apart. 5 minutes of waiting and it was already past peak. Drive-ins along the northern border Americanized it with pulled pork and bacon. Purists said the 3-ingredient original needed nothing else, and they were right. Patty melt. The patty melt was what happened in the 1940s when someone decided a burger should be cooked like a grilled cheese. Beef patty on a flat top, done. Caramelized onions, yellow onions cooked low and slow in butter until golden and sweet, not rush-fried and sad. Thick rye bread, buttered on the outside, Swiss cheese on both inner faces of the bread. The patty goes in, onions pile on, the whole thing pressed flat against the griddle with a weight. The rye crisped and browned, the Swiss melted through every layer. The onion's sweetness cut the beef's richness. Flipped once, toasted on both sides, served cut diagonally. The caraway in the rye bread ran through every bite in a way that a standard bun never could have managed. The cheese created strings. The edges of the bread went almost burnt where they pressed against the griddle, and those edges were the best part.
Potato boats. Potato boats were the 1980s drive-in's answer to a meal disguised as a side dish. Large russets baked until the skin was crispy and the interior fluffy. Split lengthwise, the interior partially scooped out and mashed with butter, sour cream, and shredded cheddar, then loaded back in. More cheese on top, crumbled bacon, chopped green onions, back onto the broiler until everything was hot and the cheese browned slightly at the edges. Serve 2 halves to an order, with extra sour cream on the side. The skin held everything together, crispy, salty, structural. The filling was creamy and rich. The bacon added smoke and crunch. The green onions cut through. Some drive-ins added chili on top. Some added pulled pork. You could eat them with your hands, peeling back the skin and scooping as you went. A single order could feed 2 people comfortably, which made them the most shareable item on the menu, and the one most likely to end up ordered by the whole car. Which drive-in food would you order tonight?